Everyone thought this family was perfect, until the night the truth walked out alive. Let's find out. But before we proceed, don't forget to subscribe for more chilling tales. Drop your location in the comments. We want to know where you're listening from. This is Silence After the Screams, your weekly dose of spine and chilling true crime. Like and subscribe so you never miss what's coming next. The story begins. On the outside, the Billings family looked like everything a small town admired. A quiet home, a respected father, a mother devoted to her family, children growing up under a roof that seemed safe from the chaos of the world. But behind closed doors, something was unraveling. And on one violent night, that fragile sense of normalcy would be shattered forever. This is the story of a crime so calculated, so brutal, and so disturbing that it left an entire community questioning how well they truly knew the people living right next door. The Billings family lived in a peaceful neighborhood where nothing ever seemed to happen. Neighbors waved in passing. Children rode bikes along the street. Doors were often left unlocked. At the center of the family was Bird Billings, a man known for his discipline and structure. He ran his household with strict rules, believing that order was the key to success. To the outside world, he was respected, even admired. His wife, Melanie, was quieter. Friends described her as loving but reserved, someone who kept her struggles private. She devoted herself to her children, trying to create warmth in a home that could sometimes feel rigid and tense. Their children grew up under constant expectations that would later become painfully important to understanding what happened next. Because what people didn't see was the pressure, the resentment, and the secrets growing beneath the surface. In the months leading up to the crime, there were subtle changes. Arguments became more frequent. Doors slammed harder than usual. Silences lasted longer. Those closest to the family later recalled moments that felt off, but at the time, nothing seemed alarming enough to raise concern. After all, families fight. Parents and children clash. It was easy to dismiss. But beneath those everyday tensions, something far darker was forming. A plan. It was late when the house fell quiet. Lights were off. The neighborhood slept. No one heard the danger approaching. Inside the Billings home, events unfolded with chilling precision. What began as a normal night turned into a nightmare in minutes. Violence erupted with no warning. The attack was swift, deliberate, and relentless. By the time it was over, the home that once symbolized safety had become a crime scene, one that would haunt investigators for years to come. When authorities arrived, the scene was devastating. Two parents lay dead in their own home. There were no signs of forced entry, no obvious robbery, no clear motive. The question echoed immediately: who would do this and why? As investigators began piecing together the evidence, one truth became unavoidable. This crime wasn't random, it wasn't impulsive, and it didn't come from outside the family. News spread fast. Neighbors stood outside in disbelief. Friends struggled to comprehend what had happened. The town felt unsafe for the first time in memory. People asked the same question over and over. How could something like this happen here? But the most disturbing answers were still ahead. Because the deeper investigators dug, the clearer it became that the real story wasn't about strangers or burglars. It was about what was happening inside the home. And the truth would be more disturbing than anyone imagined. As investigators combed through the Billings home, one fact became impossible to ignore. There was no forced entry. Doors were intact. Windows were locked. Nothing appeared stolen. Whoever committed this crime had either been let inside willingly or had already been inside all along. And that realization changed everything. The nature of the attack raised immediate red flags. This wasn't the work of a panicked intruder. It wasn't sloppy. It wasn't rushed. The violence was targeted, controlled, almost rehearsed. Detectives noted the precision of the wounds, the timing, and the lack of hesitation. This wasn't a crime fueled by desperation. It felt planned, and planning meant motive. With no signs pointing outward, Investigators did what they had to do. They turned inward. They began interviewing family members, friends, relatives, anyone who had spent time inside the Billings home. And slowly, a very different picture emerged. Behind the image of discipline and order was a household under immense strain. Bird Billings ruled his home with unwavering authority. Rules were rigid. Mistakes were punished. Emotions were rarely discussed. To him, structure meant success. But to others inside the home, it felt suffocating. Former friends of the family later described an environment where fear quietly replaced trust, and resentment grew without release. The pressure wasn't visible, but it was constant. Investigators began paying close attention to the Billings children, particularly the eldest. There were reports of frequent arguments, discipline that bordered on extreme, and a growing sense of isolation. Teachers recalled changes in behavior. Friends mentioned emotional withdrawal. Some even remembered disturbing comments that, at the time, seemed like dark jokes. Looking back, they weren't jokes at all. As interviews continued, police noticed something troubling. Statements didn't line up. Details changed. Timelines shifted. Emotions seemed strangely controlled. One individual in particular stood out, calm to the point of discomfort. While others were breaking down in grief, this person appeared detached, almost rehearsed. Investigators knew that look. They had seen it before. Police turned to technology. Phones were examined. Search histories analyzed. Messages recovered. What they found was chilling. There were searches that suggested curiosity about violence, questions about crime scenes, and interest in how investigations work. It was no longer speculation. This was preparation. As evidence stacked up, detectives reached a conclusion that shook them to their core. The threat hadn't come from outside the home. It came from within the family. Someone who lived under that roof had been planning this quietly, patiently while pretending everything was normal. And when the truth finally surfaced, it would devastate not just the Billings family, but the entire community. By the time investigators were ready to make an arrest, the truth was already unbearable. This wasn't a crime committed by a stranger. It wasn't an outside threat. It wasn't random. It was a betrayal born inside the home itself. After hours of questioning, pressure mounted. Small details cracked first. Timelines collapsed. Stories contradicted one another. Then, finally, the silence broke. One of the Billings children confessed, not in a moment of panic, not with tears or shock, but with a calmness that unsettled everyone in the room. The confession revealed months, even years of simmering resentment, emotional suffocation, and a growing belief that there was no escape. What began as dark thoughts slowly became a plan that, once imagined, could not be undone. According to investigators, the motive was not greed. It was control, a desire to end what felt like an unbreakable cycle of fear, punishment, and domination. The killer believed this was the only way out. Not a cry for help, not an accident, a decision. And once that decision was made, the path forward was chillingly deliberate. When the truth became public, the community was stunned. People struggled to reconcile the image of a disciplined, respectable family with the horrifying reality beneath it. Neighbors questioned everything they thought they knew. Friends replayed old conversations in their minds. Teachers wondered if they had missed warning signs. The realization was painful. The danger had been hiding in plain sight. The courtroom was silent as prosecutors laid out the evidence. The planning, the digital searches, the calculated steps taken before and after the murders. Defense attorneys argued emotional distress, psychological damage, and years of trauma. But the facts were undeniable. This was not an impulsive act. It was intentional, and the verdict reflected that reality. Justice came swiftly. A sentence was handed down that ensured the perpetrator would never again walk free. There were no cheers, no sense of victory, only exhaustion and grief, because in the end, everyone lost. The Billings home was eventually sold. Lights turned off, rooms emptied, memories locked behind walls that would never forget. But for those who lived nearby, the house was never just a house again. It became a reminder that appearances lie, that silence can be dangerous, and that sometimes the most terrifying threats are the ones closest to us. This case leaves behind a haunting question. How many warning signs are missed when fear stays quiet? Because long after the trial ended, long after the doors were shut, some doors never fully close.